Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
All right, so get this. Argentina's new president, Javier Milei.
Milei.
Yeah, I know the guy who ran on like shaking things up.
Right.
He might be in the middle of like a crypto scandal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's all about this cryptocurrency that totally crashed. And now investors are like, wait a minute, were we tricked?
Yeah.
And Milei's response, well, let's just say it's been interesting.
Well, and what makes this so interesting is Milei's whole libertarian thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's all about keeping the government out of the markets.
Yeah, minimal government intervention.
Exactly. But then this whole thing happens, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How does this fit with his whole philosophy?
It really throws a wrench in things.
It does, because, you know, the complaints that are swirling around him,
Oh, yeah.
they all come back to him endorsing this new cryptocurrency.
Exactly. And the name of this cryptocurrency is Libro.
Libre.
Can't make this stuff up.
Really?
It's like a not-so-subtle nod to his whole Viva la Libertad thing.
Oh, wow. So it's like adding fuel to the fire?
Totally. And there's this recent AP article that lays it all out.
Okay.
So just hours after Milei tweets about Librar,
Yeah.
its market cap explodes like it hits $4 billion.
$4 billion.
Yeah, you'd think jackpot, right?
You would think so, but here's the thing about crypto.
Yeah.
It's super volatile. Like,
Right.
what goes up must come down.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with Libra.
Uh-oh.
Within hours, the value just tanked.
Oh, no.
Investors lost millions. Poof, gone.
Wow. So now people are saying it was a pump and dump scheme.
Right.
So for those of us who aren't like crypto experts, break down this whole pump and dump idea.
Okay, so imagine someone hyping up a stock, right?
Right.
They get the price way up artificially, and then right before it tanks, they sell all their shares,
Oh.
and everyone else is left holding the bag.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's basically a pump and dump.
So it's basically market manipulation.
It is, and it's unfortunately pretty common.
Really?
Yeah, and in the crypto world, it's even easier to pull off.
Because it's so unregulated.
Exactly.
Okay, so that explains the tactic. But how do Miley's actions fit into this?
Right.
Was his tweet just like a coincidence or something more calculated?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Some people are pointing to the timing of the tweet.
Yeah.
They're saying it's suspicious.
Like he knew about the crash.
Yeah, they're arguing that a president, especially one with an economics background.
Right, because Miley's an economist.
Exactly. They're saying he should understand these risks.
Especially with something as volatile as crypto.
Right.
Now that you mention his background,
Yeah.
it is kind of strange that he would just casually endorse something so risky.
You'd think he'd be more cautious.
Right, especially because it could hurt his supporters financially.
It doesn't seem very hands-off, does it?
Not at all. It's like the opposite of what you'd expect from a libertarian.
Right, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
His critics are saying this shows a conflict between his ideals and his actions.
So his libertarian principles versus his actions as a leader.
Exactly, and it raises the question, does a laissez-faire approach actually work?
If it leaves people vulnerable to this kind of manipulation.
Exactly.
So what about Milei's response?
Yeah, what has he said?
Have he even addressed these accusations?
Oh, his response has been
Well-
interesting.
Oh, okay. Interesting. How?
He deleted the tweet promoting Libra pretty quickly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's saying he had nothing to do with creating it or managing it.
So he's saying he was just a supporter.
Right, and he's blaming his opponents.
Oh, so he's saying this is political.
Yeah, he's saying it's a smear campaign.
To damage his reputation.
Exactly.
So basically he's saying he was tricked just like everyone else.
Right.
But doesn't that contradict his whole image?
Like the savvy economist who's always one step ahead.
Exactly.
His critics are calling it a deflection.
Yeah.
They're saying if he really believed in Libra, he wouldn't have deleted the tweet.
Right.
They're saying actions speak louder than words.
This is where it gets really interesting, right? Because we're not just talking about a bad investment.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah, it's like a potential breach of public trust.
Because his supporters might have invested based on his word.
And now they're the ones who are hurting.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head.
This whole thing raises questions about ethics.
About leaders promoting financial products.
Right. Where's the line between free markets and protecting people?
It's a tough question.
This is getting pretty complex.
It is.
Maybe we should pause here for a second.
Okay.
Let our listener take it all in.
I agree. We've covered a lot.
We have, but there's still so much to unpack.
Definitely.
Like, what does this all mean for Milei's leadership
Right.
and his commitment to being a libertarian?
Yeah.
And what about the future of crypto in Argentina?
Big question.
We'll dig into all of that and more when we come back.
Sounds good.
Welcome back. I'm still like processing this whole Libra thing.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It really is. Like every
Yeah.
time I think I understand it, there's
Yeah.
another layer.
That's what makes this deep dive so interesting, right?
It really does.
It's not just black and white. It's like
Yeah.
all these shades of gray.
Yeah.
Makes you think about like the ethics of it all.
And like, what's the government's role?
Exactly. It's about how the world is changing.
Speaking of ethical dilemmas,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to Milei's actions.
Like promoting that investment.
Yeah, promoting something so risky to his followers.
Right. A lot of them probably saw him as a financial expert.
Yeah, like he knew what he was doing.
Right. And for him to just endorse something like that,
It seems irresponsible.
even if he thought it was a good idea,
Yeah, even if he had good intentions.
there's still the question of his judgment,
Right, like as a leader.
especially one who's all about free markets.
Yeah,
He has a responsibility to inform his followers,
about the risks.
especially with crypto.
It's like the Wild West out there.
It really is.
It's not just about letting people make their own choices.
Right.
It's about giving them the information they need.
So they can make informed choices.
Exactly. And this isn't even the first time this has happened.
Oh, you mean with politicians and celebrities?
Yeah, endorsing risky stuff,
Oh, yeah, all the time.
like all those influencer marketing things.
Right. It's everywhere.
We see endorsements constantly,
It's hard not to get caught up in it.
especially when it's someone you trust.
Exactly. And this Libra thing just shows you what can happen.
It really highlights those ethical concerns.
It does.
So what do you think this means for Milei long term?
Well, it could hurt his credibility,
Yeah.
especially with his supporters who lost money. The ones who really believed in him. Right. The ones who maybe couldn't afford to lose that money. This has definitely hurt his image.
I bet his critics are having a field day.
Oh, yeah. They're using this to question everything.
His judgment, his policies.
Will it affect his presidency long term?
Who knows?
But it's a problem for sure.
So what about the people who lost?
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Money.
Yeah, what can they do?
Can they get their money back?
Well, they filed fraud complaints, but it's a long shot.
Go LEY.
Proving intent in crypto is hard.
Like proving Milei knew about the crash.
Right, and that he was trying to manipulate things.
Oh, I see.
These markets are basically unregulated.
So there are no rules.
Well, there are some rules, but
Yeah.
it's really hard to define what's fraud.
So even if Milei didn't technically break the law,
Yeah,
he still hurt people.
people who trusted him.
There's a disconnect between the law and what's ethical.
You're right. It shows how the legal system is struggling.
To keep up with technology.
Exactly.
How do you hold people accountable when what they did wasn't illegal?
But it was still wrong
Yeah, it's a question lawmakers are dealing with, not just in Argentina.
all over the world.
This feels like a turning point.
In what way?
Like we need to rethink the balance between freedom and responsibility.
Especially online.
Right.
This Libra crash, it's like a mini version of bigger changes.
What do you mean?
Technology is changing things so fast.
Yeah.
It's blurring the lines between personal responsibility.
And the need for safeguards
Exactly. And it's only going to get more intense.
as crypto gets more popular.
And as these decentralized systems grow.
So if the legal system is behind,
Yeah.
what can people do to protect themselves?
It's easy to feel powerless.
These systems are so complicated.
But remember, knowledge is power.
So the more you understand, the better.
Exactly. The better choices you can make.
So what's step one?
Education.
Okay.
Don't invest in anything you don't understand,
Especially crypto.
especially crypto. Learn the basics.
Do your research
Research the different projects.
and understand the risks.
Don't just jump in blindly.
Okay, good advice.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Don't rely on endorsements.
Even from people you trust.
Even from people you trust, do your own research
Look for red flags.
and talk to a financial advisor.
So basically, be smart.
Exactly. Take control of your decisions,
Don't follow the hype.
no matter how tempting.
I like that. Be skeptical.
Yes. Question everything.
Even in the age of decentralization,
Accountability still matters.
you've given us a lot to think about.
I know it's heavy stuff.
Maybe we should take a breather,
Yeah, a moment of reflection.
let it all sink in,
Connect the dots.
and come to our own conclusions.
Maybe you'll even have new questions.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
It's not just about finding answers.
It's about the journey.
The exploration.
Speaking of journeys,
Are we ready for the final leg?
I think so. When we come back,
Yeah.
we'll wrap up this Libra story.
And see what it means for the bigger picture.
Argentina, crypto, the whole world.
It's all connected.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Wow. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
my head is spinning after all that Libra stuff.
It's a lot.
We started with this crypto crash, and now we're talking about, like,
Yeah.
government responsibility,
Right.
ethics endorsements,
Yeah.
like the whole future of money.
It's all connected.
It's a lot deeper than I thought.
That's what we do here, right?
Yeah, deep dives for a
We
reason.
go down those rabbit holes.
And sometimes they lead to some pretty unexpected places.
This one did for sure.
It did. So before we wrap things up, I'm
Yeah.
going to bring it back to our listener for a second.
Okay.
Like, what are the big takeaways from all this?
Good question.
What can we learn from this whole Libra mess?
Right. How can we actually use this information?
Yeah, to like navigate this crazy world of finance and tech.
I think there are 3 big things to remember.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, we need to be aware of endorsements.
Oh yeah, like how much power they have.
Exactly, especially now with social media.
Stuff spreads so fast.
It does. Just because someone you like promotes something.
Doesn't mean it's good.
Exactly. You need to think critically.
Do your research.
Don't just take their word for it.
Question everything.
Right.
Makes sense. It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you trust the person.
But blind trust can be dangerous.
We saw that with Libra.
All right, what's takeaway number 2?
Number 2, the world of finance, especially crypto, it's changing so fast.
Yeah.
Regulations can't keep up.
There are so many gray areas.
It's hard to know what's ethical, what's legal.
And what's just plain stupid.
Right, so you got to be extra careful
Educate yourself about the risks.
and be responsible.
Okay, so knowledge is power.
It is.
But what about the government?
Good point.
Shouldn't they be doing more to protect people?
From these scams and schemes.
Yeah, that brings us to takeaway number 3.
The big one.
The tension between individual freedom and collective responsibility.
Right, on the one hand, people should be free to choose.
Even if it's risky.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we need some rules.
To protect people from getting exploited.
Especially in markets like crypto,
It's a tough balance.
too much regulation stifles things.
Too little and people get hurt.
So what's the answer?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. There's no easy solution.
This is a conversation we need to have.
With everyone, policymakers, regulators,
Industry leaders, everyday people,
we got to figure out how to encourage innovation.
without letting people get taken advantage of.
It's a tough dance.
But we have to learn it.
If we want to survive in this new world,
You've given us a lot to think about.
I hope so.
I'm sure our listener is making connections,
Drawing parallels.
thinking about how this affects them,
The whole point of this show.
to spark new ideas, challenge assumptions.
Keep learning. Keep exploring.
The Libra story, it's just one example.
Of the bigger changes happening.
This tension between freedom and responsibility.
It's everywhere.
Well said. I want to thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
We hope this deep dive was insightful,
And thought-provoking.
maybe even a little bit empowering.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Critical thinking is key.
And the search for understanding never ends.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.